What's going on, everyone? My name's Eric, and today on the channel we're going to be taking a look at this pedal here. This is the Master Effects EQ4H Pro, and it is a 4-band pedal platform parametric EQ, and it is a faithful recreation of the original Furman PQ4 parametric equalizer, and that was used most famously by Dimebag during the VULGAR display of power and the Far Beyond Driven touring eras. What I'm going to do today is give you a deep dive on this pedal. We're then going to compare it to the Furman PQ4, and then I'm going to give you my thoughts and opinions on both of those pieces of gear, and especially for those of you who are looking to recreate Dimebag's rig and are maybe on a budget, maybe you can't find the old Furman rack gear, or maybe you're hesitant on buying older gear in general. So with all that being said, let's dive into the Master Effects EQ4H Pro. And if you're not familiar with parametric equalizers or anything like that, they are similar in nature to your favorite graphic equalizers that you might find on some amplifiers or in stombox form and everything like that. Although the parametric equalizer takes it a step further and essentially gives you way more tonal control and adjustability on the frequencies you're either trying to boost or cut, and you have essentially a wider range of frequencies. And a lot of that is in part to the actual bandwidth control right down here. That is going to dictate whether you have a very wide spread of frequency cut or boost or a very narrow spread of frequency cut or boost, instead of just sticking to the single frequency that comes on some of those sliding graphic equalizers and everything like that. You have way more control and flexibility of your overall tone when you are using a parametric equalizer versus just using a standard graphic equalizer. Now, going over the specs of the EQ4H Pro, it's a very simple layout, very similar layout to every other Master Effects parametric EQ pedal that they offer. We have 4 different frequencies that are fully adjustable. We have the bass, the low mid, the high mid, and the high end frequencies here. We have pretty wide frequency ranges as well, so you can tailor your sound to your heart's content. You have a lot of options there. We then have a level control here, which adjusts how much signal is being put through the actual pedal. You can also use this as an inherent boost because there is an actual EQ in and out section right here, which allows you to toggle the whole EQ section of this pedal on or off. This pedal also has a level control here, which gives you upwards of 20 decibels of extra boost if you crank it all the way. We then have peak and shelf toggle switches here for the high and the low end frequencies here. And then right on the bottom here, we have this high and low switch here. That is to replicate the high and the low input and output sections of the Furman PQ4. And the Furman PQ4 has the individual high and low inputs and outputs and everything like that. And that can give you some pretty cool tones depending on which way you're plugging in and out of the Furman PQ4. But otherwise, I think the majority of players are going to be doing just fine with the high and low switch to compensate for either hotter pickups or weaker pickups in their signal chain. We also have the top mounted jacks at the top here, just like the other pedals from Master Effects that I have demoed on the channel. This pedal is also 9 volts DC and can be powered by pretty well any sort of power supply that you might have. This pedal also has an internal power protection feature on it too, so if you accidentally plug in the wrong power supply, and that's a really nice feature that should definitely be integrated to all sorts of pedals, especially if they don't come with their own power supply from factory. We then have the power switch here, which is really nice, you know, to turn the pedal on and off, and just to hear how the sound is being altered when the pedal is on or off, so you can have sort of a reference point there. And there's only a handful of differences between this pedal here and the actual original Furman PQ4. We have the same EQ sweep on every frequency here that can be boosted or cut. The only differences between the two are essentially the individual high and low input and output sections on the original rack gear. Some of these toggle switches are also buttons on the original Furman PQ4, and you also don't really have an on-off switch that allows the Furman just to be out of the circuit but still have the sound pass through it. The only way to hear the difference of what the Furman is actually doing to your tone is actually by literally unplugging it from your effects loop, which is the best place to run a parametric EQ, and then hear what it sounds like on there. I tried turning off the Furman PQ4 and that just killed the sound entirely. So if you are trying to mess with the old rack gear, you will run into some of those issues, whereas, you know, having a stomp box, you can just turn it off and it works just fine like that. And last but not least, this pedal is made in Canada. It's very well. It's made of this nice aluminum here. It's all powder coated and everything. It feels solid. It feels really good, especially at the price that it comes in at. This is a really quality product, and just like with every other pedal I've had from Master Effects, haven't had any issues with them. Quality products. There's nothing negative to write home about. Like, I really like how these pedals work and just operate. They do their job very well, and there's a lot of attention to detail and quality control that goes into the construction of these pedals and the overall research and design to capture those original pieces of gear that we can't really get anymore. And Master Effects pretty well covers that niche by capturing those original sounds and putting them into a stomp box package. So now, just before we hear the Master Effects EQ4H Pro versus the original Furman PQ4, I'm just going to give you a quick signal chain. Everything you're going to be hearing is going to be played on my Washburn Culprit with a Bill Lawrence XL500 in the bridge, going straight into the 5150 Iconic EQ is set entirely flat, just so we can have kind of like a pretty clean representation of what these pedals can do with an amp that's just set to new. With the Furman and the Master Effects pedal, they're going to be in the effects loop of the amp, and throughout my time and years of building rigs and doing pedal placement and everything like that and chasing the tone dragon, any sort of graphic EQ or parametric EQ is going to have the biggest impact on your tone when it's in the effects loop rather than in front of the amp affecting just the preamp. So mess with that for what you will, but in terms of today's demo, everything's going to be in the effects loop, and that's just where it sounds the best to my ears, and that is essentially how Dimebag ran his Furman PQ3 and his PQ4 throughout his years in Pantera. Last but not least, the 5150 is going into my 2-notes captor with the cab section from Neural DSP John Petrucci as the IR of choice. With all that being said, let's hear the Furman PQ4 and the Master Effects EQ4H Pro. now at this point in the video, I'm going to give you my final thoughts and opinions on the Master Effects EQ4H Pro. Now I really love this pedal and I really love everything that it comes with. I've really noticed that this pedal has a lot of juice on tap, especially with the level control here. This thing can get pretty hot pretty quick. I also found that putting these EQ controls at the same settings that I had for the original Furman PQ4, they did sound pretty different from each other. That could be for a number of things. Maybe some of those original components have kind of drifted as well throughout the years, whereas this one here, like, it's just a fantastic pedal. I honestly found that this pedal here and the Furman PQ4 at the end of the day, they add such a crazy dynamic and a range of sound to an already awesome guitar tone. If you are looking to enhance your tone, this is really the way to do it. If you don't have a budget for changing out cabs and speakers and everything like that, this is the way to do it regardless if you are chasing Dimebag sound or not. But if you are trying to go down the rabbit hole and chase Dimebag's tone and rebuild the rig and everything like that, I really think this is the way to go because it's more reliable, it's readily available, and it's essentially brand new with a warranty. It can be powered by your favorite pedal power supply, and honestly, pedals are just way easier to live with and integrate into your full-on rig. And as I said before, with trying to integrate some of the old rack gear like the Furman PQ3 and the PQ4, there are remote foot switches that you can get for those units to toggle them on and off and everything like that, or you can route them into something like a Voodoo Lab ground control and the GCX switching system and figure out all of that and integrate that to your rig. But in my opinion, this is way easier to live with, and as I said earlier, these are just built so well, and these are literally road ready as soon as you get them. And just listening back to the audio files that I recorded using this pedal here and the Furman PQ4, it's crazy how identical this pedal sounds to the original Furman rack unit, which then again emphasizes the attention to detail and the research and design that goes into these pedals. If you are torn between this pedal here and the older Furman rack unit, this is the one to go for in my opinion. And that's going to do it for today's video on the Master Effects EQ4H Pro. Let me know in the comments below of what you think about this pedal in comparison to the original Furman PQ4. Which one was your favorite? Was it the pedal or was it the original rack gear? And also let me know which one you would consider buying for your Dimebag rig. If you like this video, make sure you give it a thumbs up. And if you're new to the channel here, consider subscribing. I have tons more videos that go over vintage gear that Dimebag used, recreated in modern packages, as well as other Dimebag videos and other guitar related videos as well. Thanks for checking this out, and I'll see you next time.